Coming to you from my brother's apartment where the Wi-Fi's good. Not at my apartment where the Wi-Fi's bad. It's WrestleZone. Hey, everybody. It is Kevin Kellum. It is a Thursday edition of WrestleZone Daily on your podcast feed, on your screen, wherever it may be. Subscribe to WrestleZone. The podcast is kicking right now. One of the biggest wrestlers in the world is on the podcast, and I can confirm to you that the podcast of WrestleZone is now available right there on that glimmering blue globe of green, or green globe that you see there, that you listen to all your music on Spotify. You now listen to WrestleZone on Spotify. So 2 clicks over from the new Lady Gaga record. I don't know, maybe you listen to Styx. All right, all that fun stuff. So go check us out now on Spotify. Also still available. What Robert DeFelis?
Were you listening to Styx this morning?
Yeah, Renegade, dude. It's a great song. I don't know what's going on. I got too much time on my hands. Okay, so back off. Okay, Mary, Mr. Roboto, Arigato. Thank you very much. All right, some Styx references. One of the best bands ever out of my hometown, Chicago. Robert DeFelis chimed in there and interrupted me. He's from the city where WrestleMania was supposed to be, but was never going to be, apparently. One, Tampa Bay, Florida. Robert, how are you today? You well?
Yeah, I'm well. I think, we're all doing well. We're all here. We're all back on the virtual couch, and I think that's what's important.
Yes, we are all back comfy on the virtual couch. And when getting on the virtual couch, we like to not just talk some wrestling news. We'll talk about Backlash today. We'll get into the Trivia Crusher. And I do not believe Robert will defeat the Crusher. If you think Robert will defeat the Crusher and you're a regular viewer of the show, let us know what you think he'll get 1 through 10 questions right. You can play along at home, and we'll decide if he can defeat it. We'll talk Backlash. But let's talk about people talking shiz, right? That's always a fun thing in wrestling. That's always the thing that fans want to know about first. Who's talking crap about each other? And today, it's 2 big names, AJ Styles and CM Punk. AJ Styles spoke to the Times of India and responded to CM Punk's recent shooty words at him in the general sense of it. Simply saying, quote, he does not respect CM Punk and does not feel he has to address him. What does he have to address him about? He doesn't respect CM Punk. Some testy stuff there.
Yeah, there is some testy stuff there. What happened was Punk was speaking openly about the racial inequality stuff and everything that's going on in America and the world. And he basically said, a lot of people are telling on themselves. It's very easy to see who stands for what when they're not simply using their platform to even tweet something out. And a fan had replied saying, I agree with you. It's that AJ Styles unfollow was hard for me, but I felt like it was the right thing to do. And Punk said in a tweet that has since been deleted, well, come on now. That one was obvious for a while.
Ooh.
And, that is what it is. AJ Styles spoke to the Times of India and said the following. I will not react at all coming from a guy like that who I don't respect anyway. It doesn't really matter. Look, my job as a performer is to get minds off of all the things that have been happened throughout the world. I'm not going to react to people saying ridiculous and stupid things.
Well, that's the story as it stands. Certainly, I think more people want there to be something there. Don't rush to the conclusion and think that this is some kayfabe thing that's going to get CM Punk back in the ring.
It's the furthest effing thing.
I know it's the furthest thing from there, but that's the number one thing I think people are going to respond to and say, is this just going to get him back in the ring? No. I do think it was weird that just a random question from a fan made Punk feel like he could say this thing. I'm not saying Punk is wrong. Maybe Punk's saying like, hey, if you have a platform and you're popular, you should be doing this. Doesn't matter who you are, right? But the sliding tone of, oh, it's obvious that Styles was like that. Like, is it? Is it obvious that Styles would have that position and that assumption? And Styles is somebody that people have taken shots at for his opinions on different things outside of the world of wrestling. And I get some of it, but I don't at the same time understand why. Like why taking a shot at somebody is more important than saying the things you need to say and focusing on progression. At the same time, CM Punk says that AJ Styles' response is to not really address it and just say, "Oh, I'm an entertainer and I don't have to get into that stuff." So I don't know. I don't know where to stand on it. It does seem at the end of the day, it seems a bit petty to me. Am I wrong? Like, it seems a little bit petty.
Punk is what you see is what you get.
Yeah.
And I think that this is something he felt. He said his piece. He moved on. I don't read into anything regarding CM Punk because I just think
there isn't that much there to read into. So I think some people just want to take it and run with it, and that's why we're talking about it at the beginning of the show. It was a big thing, and we had several people asking us about it in the last 24 hours on WrestleZone social media. So I thought it was something worth talking about. But there really isn't that much there to talk about. Like, so I know where it's an attractive headline. AJ Styles said this about CM Punk, people talking crap. Oh, now is life somehow getting back to normal if people are talking crap about each other on the internet? No, this has always been there. This is always going to be something. I said it was petty, but I don't know if it's exactly petty. It's petty on the surface level because I don't think we know the whole facts because AJ Styles simply hasn't said what he thought about it yet. But he doesn't feel he has to say what he thinks.
He said, well, he addressed it on his stream and basically said, here's the deal. I don't want to comment on this because I want to be an entertainer and distract you from it.
Mm-hmm.
That is what it is. Listen, it is 100% his prerogative to feel that way. We do live in a free country. He can say whatever he wants, really. And I think there's just a lot of pressure and emphasis right now on, okay, what are you saying? How are you using that platform?
Yeah, and there is a lot of like jury by opinion type stuff going on right now in terms of this is the opinion we're all supposed to have. Do you share this opinion? And if you don't share,
baby.
What?
It's all Orwellian. It's all 1984. It's just
yeah. Wow, what a novel! That recently had an anniversary. That novel. It's a great novel if you've never read it. And so it's definitely a thing here, and you guys can sound off on it. I want to say we can dig into it much more, but like I said, it's very much there's so much. It's just he said this, they said that, and that's it. And I think Styles, I wouldn't say Styles squashed it right away, but he definitely put a damper on it here. Of course, it didn't take long. Terrell Dake saying CM Punk should face AJ Styles in a match. People want CM Punk to get back in the ring.
I've seen them fight in Ring of Honor. I mean, it was many, many moons ago, but I wasn't like blown away by what I saw. And I don't know if Punk would even be interested in working with AJ, let alone whatever their beef is now. But it's a fun match to dream about. I think if you put them on paper, it sounds like it would blow the roof off any arena in the building.
Well, we kind of said what we think. I think it's sort of a petty thing until we find out more. But I understand where they're both saying it. That's my take, and you have your take. But what do the fans think? Here's Bob texting in. He says, in today's climate, CM Punk's comments could hurt AJ Styles' career. Could this hurt AJ Styles' career, you think?
Yeah. I mean, everything hurts everything at this point. Like, it is what it is. Listen, there are very... morality-wise, you are now a brand. It doesn't matter if you're a WWE superstar or a podcaster or a
Robert,
sanitation.
I need to protect my brand. Robert, people say that now, legitimately.
But like, as dumb as that may be to you and I, who lived in a world prior to this, that's a real thing. I don't care. It's like if you bag groceries, you're still a brand and you need to watch what you say because the brands that you interact with might not want to be affiliated with you. It's all very weird. That being said, I do applaud CM Punk for his particular stance and where he stands on it, but I also know that not everybody's going to feel that strongly about things.
A lot of people chiming in here with different takes and different things here. We do have another AJ Styles story to talk about within today's show. He's challenging for the Intercontinental title this Friday on SmackDown in what is being advertised as a dream match, in which he takes on Daniel Bryan in the finals of the Intercontinental Tournament, which has been going on for a few weeks now. I've enjoyed it on SmackDown. I think it's the best part of the show. We'll talk about that in a minute, but I do want to mention another big noteworthy person in the world of wrestling. Chris Jericho from All Elite Wrestling is on the podcast feed of WrestleZone right now. You can watch the video here on Facebook or on YouTube. You can also listen to it. It is now available in the podcast feed, or read it at WrestleZone.com. Just search WrestleZone Podcast. You're looking for that red WZ logo like you see right there. You see it on your podcast feed, Spotify, iTunes, iHeartRadio, TuneIn. We're on all of them. And the interview is in full. It's right up there. Also on that podcast feed every single week. You get 4 episodes of WrestleZone Daily, plus different podcast post shows. Like we're going to have one this Sunday following Backlash, which is pretty cool. So we have a lot to cover, and we have a lot of content with you to kind of be in your ears while it's going on. And we have Chris Jericho. This Chris Jericho interview is really, really cool. Talks about his new band Quarantine with a K and how they focus on 80s Kiss, which I think is pretty interesting as a Kiss fan. I appreciate that. It's a very forgotten era of the band in some ways. And the match with Mike Tyson, the match he feels he can have with Mike Tyson, and how he feels AEW is adapting to the quarantine times. If you're a fan of Jericho, you're a fan of AEW, if you're a fan of his music, you got to check this out. It is really, really well worth it. Just a great piece of the mind of him, and it's very, very challenging time in wrestling. So let's get into what's going on with AJ Styles. This Sunday, he takes on, this Friday, tomorrow, he takes on Daniel Bryan. They've been building up to this for a while. When Styles moved over to SmackDown a few weeks ago, that was a noteworthy move, right? Mm-hmm. Because, you have, what is it, the brand feature showcase where guys can just have a couple of different spots in each other's shows because, ratings or whatever. They moved him straight over to SmackDown, and immediately I thought, if he's in that tournament, he's got to take on Daniel Bryan in the final. It's not like, oh, I told you so, this was going to be the final, but this is certainly a big final. These guys have had matches on pay-per-view. They fought each other when one of them was a face and a baby face. Now it's reversed. They've had matches on TV, but I don't think they've ever had that dream match, that good, let's just go for it, win the prize match. And it feels like this is being set up that way. Like this match is being set up to be something special. But do we get the dusty finish? Do we get the weird thing that leads to something else? Does this somehow get branched off into this Sunday's pay-per-view?
No, I think we get a banger match, and it's going to be one of the best matches of the month. Mm-hmm. And I'm excited to see it. And I think Daniel Bryan wins because he should, because he said he would defend it every week. And I think that's a good hook going into SmackDown episodes.
I do think that's a good hook going into SmackDown episodes. If they go for the route of the fighting champion, which we've seen before sporadically throughout, John Cena had a period like this. They're sort of doing that on AEW with Cody, right? And, Bret Hart had it back in the 90s. I think Daniel Bryan is the guy can do that. Like, he can have a great match with almost anyone and can add some flair to this title that needs it. It needs that flair. It hasn't had that in quite some time. And I do think he's the guy who can do it. Benjamin Jones says AJ versus Daniel Bryan is the greatest wrestling match ever. No, that's happening this Sunday at Backlash. We'll talk about that in a minute here. So you think Styles is winning the belt? Let's see what fans are thinking here too. Other people saying, James Tiley saying Orton versus Edge will not be the greatest wrestling match ever. What an effing joke. Thank you for editing yourself, James.
Wow, James, you got such a hot take. I don't know how I'm going to hold that take. It's so hot. What am I going to do?
Hot take, too hot to hold.
It's just... It's a marketing play, and it's a damn good one because that's the only thing we've talked about since the night after Money in the Bank, except for Becky Lynch's pregnancy.
Yeah, it has. Let's get into it here. Other people with different takes here. Daniel Bryan versus AJ Styles will be awesome, and there's talk that it will be a match that is better than what is being advertised for this Sunday on pay-per-view. Could that be a problem if this match blows everything away that you're going to put on pay-per-view just 2 days later?
No.
You don't think so?
No, because... you have a roster now, and Edge knows it, Randy knows it, of guys who can just do that.
Yeah. And I think more fans need to see it. I do think with all the noise of WWE and everything going on, sometimes that people forget how good the wrestlers there actually are. And this will be another reminder of it. But let's move on to Backlash. This is the big stuff before Backlash, but Backlash has quite a bit on it. It'll feature the greatest wrestling match ever, a marketing term that has aggravated so many fans, and it's even aggravating the wrestlers in the match. It's even aggravating the wrestlers that are in this match. It'll feature Edge in his first straight-up singles match in nearly 9 years in WWE since he returned earlier this year at the Royal Rumble, a story that WrestleZone broke for you. And that was a great return, maybe the best moment of the year so far in pro wrestling for a lot of different fans from a lot of different times. And I'll take on that son of a bitch, that snake man, Randy Orton. They follow up the match they had at WrestleMania, a Falls Count Anywhere, brutal hardcore match that left fans wanting more, feeling it was long in the tooth, and it just wasn't great. I thought it was very good, but I didn't think it was great. I thought it was short of great, and I did like the emotional ending where he cried and then bashed him with a chair, right?
Right.
They've done a lot to promote this match. They've had legends come back and talk about their greatest matches and who they thought would win the match. I thought that was a unique way to do it. And Orton and Edge have certainly been the mouthpieces for this thing, where they've talked about how much they need this. Edge and Christian in the ring this week, with Christian, getting under Edge's skin, saying he can't be Adam in this match. He needs to be Edge, or he should go home. I like the way they've talked this up. Randy Orton saying that, yeah, I am privileged. What are you going to do about it? I'm still better than most of the people here. I thought that was just a great way to get under people's skin too. And it gets under your skin. I know I'm using the term, but that's what's working with it. Can it live up to the hype? We talked about it on Monday's show. Some people say it can't. Some people say it can. The match has been filmed. We do know that. And we're told it's quite good.
The fact that Meltzer said it's pretty good, it's two of the smartest wrestlers wrestling a very smart match, I have high hopes. It's not Shawn and Taker. It's obviously never going to be Okada Omega. But I do think it'll be the best match that Edge and Randy Orton ever have with one another.
Here's the thing. I have to think you have to put an asterisk next to all this stuff, because it won't be in front of a crowd. It'll be in front of this audience of trainees at the WWE Performance Center. And can it be a great match? Yes. But I always think everything, and this is AEW included, everything that's great right now has this curve on it, has an asterisk next to it, has this, but it wasn't in front of a live crowd. There has to be that caveat that gets added to it, right?
Right. But that's going to be the whole era. And then in 5 years, we'll look back and we'll go, you know what, man? That's actually pretty cool. We had a pretty cool, the quarantine shows weren't so bad. You wait 5 years. That's coming.
Now, James Tiley's been texting and saying that this is going to be an effing joke. Also agrees with me. He says it's going to be a joke, but he agrees with me that he's loved the promos. He loves the promos.
Well, I think everybody has loved the promos.
It's going to be an effing joke. It's going to be a joke, but he's loved the promos and loved everything they've done to it. Here's the thing. I don't think people like being marketed to when it's so obvious. This is an obvious marketing term to call it the greatest wrestling match ever. It's a way to make a regular match seem like it's more. Wouldn't guess what? That's all wrestling, guys. WrestleMania. Are you at a wrestling show? Or are you at WrestleMania? Are we going to WWE NXT or WWE NXT Takeover? Is this AEW Dynamite or is it Fyter Fest? It's a marketing term. It's an elevated event. This is just a way to elevate a match and remind you that these two guys can do more. It's let's put a bunch of frosting on a really good cake.
Speaking genuinely, not even being funny and playing off what you said, I don't like frosting, but I do like when the cake itself is very, very good and very, very moist. And I think these two can provide a damn good cake that doesn't need a lot of frosting. That being said, I'm sure it'll be delicious. What are we talking about?
We've gotten into cakes. Let me say that carrot cake is very underrated. Very underrated.
Nothing beats a good cheesecake. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
Dude, cheesecake, very underrated. Cheesecake Factory has too many things on their menu. Can we get into that? A lot of ADD stuff. Let's get back to wrestling. Backlash will feature several other big matches on the show. Another one is the title match. This will be the WWE Championship. A match that people wanted right away. Once Drew McIntyre got the title, I heard people saying they wanted this match, but I don't know if they want it so much going into this Sunday on pay-per-view. Drew McIntyre won the title in decisive fashion, defeating Brock Lesnar in 5 minutes. He followed that up with the defense against Seth Rollins at Money in the Bank and won that. And I think a very underrated match that people left that show not really talking about, even though they should have been. And now he takes on Bobby Lashley. The thing about Bobby Lashley, he's been back in WWE now for a few years. And only recently have they tried to remind you that Bobby Lashley is a powerful guy with legitimate background who can hurt people. He's got MVP as his new mouthpiece. He's been, dragged down by this whole Lana Rusev storyline in the better part of the last year. There's a much more serious take on him. What do you think here? I don't think he gets this belt off Drew McIntyre, but I do think there's a chance for Bobby Lashley to remind you that this guy still has a lot left in the tank, and he's more than just a look. He can have a great match.
Gun to my head, I say Drew McIntyre retains. The asterisk being, I would not be surprised in the slightest if Bobby Lashley walks out with the WWE Championship.
So you think he can actually lose the belt?
I think he can. I think this is a hot take, controversial take. At the end of the day, it's just something designed to get a talent over. I think Lashley could use this bump right now. No, there's nothing wrong with
Bob. Come on, anyone can use the bump of being the WWE champion. Anyone,
not to the extent of Bobby Lashley. Bobby Lashley is a guy who, for over a decade, on and off, they have flirted with. Here's the next big thing.
Yeah,
here's the guy.
Yeah,
Lashley could really use the chance to become the guy. That being said, McIntyre just became the guy, so timing may not be in Lashley's favor.
I'm surprised that you went with Lashley. I think Drew McIntyre is the long haul right now for quite some time. I think it'd be surprising for him to lose the title. I wouldn't say this quickly, but in maybe his second really big defense. And I'm just surprised by that. Ellie Darsky, friend of the show, congratulations to her. I understand that she's having a beautiful child coming up soon. Congratulations, another big wrestling fan coming to the world. Very, very happy for her. She's been a host with us. Bobby Lashley can hurt people. He's hurt Kevin Owens. He's hurt Sami Zayn. I'm not going to be thrilled if he wins the belt because it can. What did you say here?
Leads to more people getting hurt.
It means more people getting hurt. Yeah. Thank you for reading the rest of that.
Well, I want to use this comment to transition into another match on the card.
Okay.
Nia Jax and Asuka.
Oh, why have they had better matches on TV Raw with the women than I think this match can have?
I don't know.
They had Asuka versus Charlotte this past Friday. I know people are all angry. They're all angry at Charlotte, right? Because she's on TV too much. But she's having great matches, and I thought she had a great match. But meanwhile, with Nia Jax came back a few months ago and had a series of matches with Kairi Sane. And 2 of those matches, Kairi got hurt. 2 of them. And enough to the point where a move got banned, the buckle bomb. Another time, Kairi was thrown in the ring steps and got a laceration, got a cut that had to stop the match. They had to. They're pre-filming these shows, so they had to stop the show and stop the production of it. There was some talk backstage that Nia was in serious trouble. But here's the thing: I think Nia physically is proven after the scenario with Becky Lynch, where she broke her nose right before the big Ronda Rousey match. Nia has proven that she can legitimately hurt people, and within the kayfabe sense of professional wrestling, can be a damaging force. She's held a title. It's very believable that she can beat people. I'm not doubting the kayfabe, but is the interest in this match all the things that have happened off screen, and does it take away from Asuka, who got this title, and very noteworthy scene with Becky Lynch saying, when you won the Money in the Bank, you won this title, and she opened up the briefcase and gave it to her. That's quite the handoff there. And Asuka has been the real, I think, a real MVP for WWE's women division in terms of her value to make segments work and get so much of her charisma over right now without fans being there. I don't know. This match is a lot working against it than it does for it. But then I do think sometimes, pressure makes a diamond. I don't see Asuka losing the title for some reason. If all those things are going on with Nia in the ring and people are worried about it, I don't think that's somebody that people are going to be confident putting a title on right now.
Nia needs to lose this match and just sort of maybe get tucked into the tag team situation, or like I'm not a wrestler, and like I feel like shit when I feel compelled to say something bad about the way that somebody works, but Naya has proven to be a little, I don't know, my own strength level reckless. So, like, let's pivot away from this, you know? Am I wrong for that?
I don't think you're wrong, but I do think those things kind of came together when they had a plan. They're like Nia Jax comes back, Big Star comes back, then these injury things happen with Kyrie Sane. There's some heat on her. You know, you guys can sign off on this. I don't think this is the time for Nia to be the champion right now. You know, and maybe it's mostly it's because of those other things, but I don't see the momentum in terms of the character doing it either. There's other things. I think her in a tag team would be more interesting. I do agree. Her in a tag team, chasing the tag team belts would be more interesting.
You know, I mean, nobody ever complained about the Road Warriors hurting people.
Yeah, they did beat people up pretty bad, didn't they? Man, they wrecked. If you go back, search Road Warriors, just shoot like going through jobber guys, and who wanted to take the Doomsday device? Who wanted to take that move? It looks
I imagine
like
nobody.
a dangerous move. There's like a 70% chance you were going to land on your head. Who wanted to do that? Oh, every time I see the Doomsday device now as an adult, I'm like, no, don't do that. Ow. It's too much. Michael Covington texting in here. Saying you got people like Nyla Rose who can work with Rio, who is 80-pound pilot. Nyla Rose knows how to wrestle. So I guess he's saying that maybe Nia needs to know her strength, but we're not wrestlers. So I don't like to say that wrestlers don't know how to wrestle. I think that's always an out of line thing to say. I think as a fan, you can say, why would you do that? You know, but I don't think we can determine who can and can't wrestle if you're not a wrestler. I'm of that camp. So people with different takes here. What else is going on here on WWE Backlash that's piquing your interest this Sunday on the network?
I know the question you asked. I just want to get this off my chest. Braun Strowman versus Miz and Morrison is dumb.
This has zero momentum to me right now. This is a match when they put it together. It was like Morrison just kind of threw them into the match or something like that, and became them begging somebody. And it's not a triple threat, and it's weird, and it's two guys trying to win the singles title, which is weird. And it reeks of we don't have anything for Braun Strowman right now. If we did, we were going to have it after Backlash. It shouts just holdover program.
You know what really irritates me about this is that you would think that in an era of Goldberg's and Lesnar title reigns, we've long since established that, hey, if you don't have anything for the champ, give that champ the month off.
Mm-hmm.
But just because he's a regular rotation superstar, he has to do something, so we're just gonna throw him into this. It seems odd, and like it just proves once again of, well, it's the title, it has to be defended, but you wouldn't do that to somebody you would deem to be a bigger star. I don't know. I just
the thing is Morrison, they're an exciting pairing. They've already won the tag title since they got put back together. I've enjoyed their promos. Like, you can't deny that these guys are entertaining. They have funny lines. They've done funny gimmicks. Some of the stuff hits and some of it doesn't. But it just feels like, oh, they're a good tag team. We don't have them in the tag team picture. Here's Braun Strowman. It just seems like here are two people that don't have anything going on. Let's put them together. And do you feel the momentum for this match? I mean, we mentioned that I don't feel a ton of, oh, this is going to be a great match momentum with Bobby Lashley and Drew McIntyre, because also this angle with Braun Strowman has barely been featured on SmackDown for the past few weeks. Like, they've really taken the foot off the gas on that. So there is that. So and here, you should never look at a title match, especially with the two big world titles, as an afterthought. And it sort of is an afterthought.
Yeah, it really is. And I wish I had better things to say. Do you know what I mean?
What's another match on the card that piques your interest a little bit more? Because I think there's other things on the show that are more interesting than Strowman versus Miz and Morrison.
For me, like it's really Lashley, Drew, and Edge and Orton.
Which is fine because those are two big matches. You know what I mean? Like two big match. I think a 2-match hook is good. If it's a 1-match show, it always feels like, all right, well, what happened with that? This does feel like there is a little bit more there than just one match. I wouldn't call this a 1-match show, even though it will feature Robert as billed, the greatest wrestling match ever.
I'll give the nod to the women's tag team championship match.
Do you think Sasha and Bayley leave that show with the titles?
Only because they announced that match with Tegan Knox and Dakota, not Dakota Kai, but Shotzi Blackheart. Do I want to see that match be something? But I think it'll go to the Iconics.
So you think the Iconics leave this Sunday with the belts? I think the Iconics are built for this, but at the same time, I do get the camp of people saying, "Oh, they're not great wrestlers; they're good characters." I mean, can you remember an Iconics match that was like a great match? I can remember several segments with them that are great matches.
Not in a tag team format. I used to like what they would do in 4-ways with Nikki Cross and Asuka when they were both in the NXT Women's Championship picture. But since the tag team stuff, I don't think there's been anything crazy.
So it is a pay-per-view. It does have a lot of things going on with it. I do feel like it doesn't have a bunch of big attractions on it, like I felt like I did with the NXT TakeOver last weekend. And this will be a hard thing for them to follow up with because I loved TakeOver in Your House. I really, really enjoyed that show. And I think they have a lot to follow up here with this show. But there are a lot of fan favorites on the show being featured. Some possibilities, some surprising things. Scott George texting in saying he thinks the Iconics, he agrees with you. Maybe the Iconics will win those titles. So other people not alone with you on that. That would be a surprise. Do you think there's going to be a title upset on this show? You think?
I think so. But like I said, I think it comes in the form of Bobby Lashley winning the world title.
Do we get the Sasha Bayley breakup then? If they take those women's calls?
Yeah, I think we see the return of the hacker, who revealed some chicanery, and I'll go as far as to say
chicanery. That's a good word.
What I think the reveal will be, and this is why I think it'll be the Iconics. Sasha left WWE last year, and I think there's something there that hasn't been touched on. So when the hacker played that message of, payback is coming and it's coming soon, I think that's revealed to be Bayley, who's been, quietly setting Sasha up for leaving her alone. And the split comes once again after the Iconics win the women's tag team titles from Sasha and Bayley again.
Good point here. Outside of the world of wrestling,
who knows?
Yeah, I know. Outside of the world of wrestling, you can sign off, get your comments in. Some people talking about other pop culture things that I definitely will have an opinion on in terms of influencing the world of wrestling. Some people texting about the new announcement today was delayed a few weeks for PS5, Sony's PlayStation 5.
Yeah, that's literally happening right now.
And there's a lot of gamers who watch wrestling and follow it. And there's obviously a lot of people, if they get this device, they're going to stream their television on it, maybe even stream the network and different things on it. I know you're a big gaming person. Is there anything specific that maybe some wrestling fans should look forward to, or just gaming fans should look forward to? Just you know more about the PS5 than I do.
We know that Virtual Basement is working on a wrestling game, and they have said that they're gearing it towards next gen. So that's cool. They've signed on a bunch of indie talent. They have had to pull all the Impact names because Impact said that's a no-no, but we know that game's coming. We know that All Elite Wrestling has a game coming someday, eventually.
Do you think they're holding off for PS5?
I don't know if they're specifically saying I want to wait till next gen, or if they're saying I want the perfect formula before we announce a game. We're not just going to announce a game to announce a game. We want to know that we're going to create the game that we want to create. Outside of the world of wrestling, I had to just jump over to the stream real quick because I know they just announced a sequel to the amazing Insomniac Spider-Man game that's coming this year in the holiday season of this year. So that's exciting. Gaming is great. Gaming is strong. If you want to know more about gaming, head over to our sister site, Game Revolution. I'm sure they're covering all that from head to toe, and it's going to be a good year for the gaming community.
Other people agreeing with you about this virtual basement game. Vincent Giles saying it looks interesting. Adding custom music for offline is a huge for the virtual basement. Everyone talking about the custom stuff you can do in wrestling games, the sim games.
Yeah, well, yeah, and they are working hard on that. But of course, remember, just because you can add it for offline, I know people are going to want it for online. That's not coming for a while. But the names that are signed on are huge. John Gresham of Ring of Honor. Ken Shamrock is signed on for that game. Crime Time, including the late Chad Gaspard, signed on for that game before Chad's untimely passing. So
this game is basically like every big wrestler that isn't signed to a major company.
It's anything that isn't signed to a major company, and I am very excited for that. There's also Retromania, which is the direct sequel to WrestleFest, coming out in about a month.
Worked for a long time.
Retromania for a long time, and it's coming out in a month. So get your pre-orders in for that. And
I love WrestleFest. Did you ever play WrestleFest? The arcade.
I played WrestleFest a lot.
Love it. There's a couple arcades by me when they were open. That was always something I went to. When they took it away, when they took off the WrestleFest, I literally called the bar and said, I heard you guys took off WrestleFest. And they're like, oh yeah, the game's down for repairs. We may not put it back up. And I was like, come on, man, you guys got to put it back up. And me and maybe like 6 other people, I found other people online to call the bar, get them to put it back up. And like a week later, they're like, yeah, we're gonna have WrestleFest up next week. Just come by.
Nice.
So, but it's weird that you have to do that to ask a place to put a video game up. But I don't play a lot of for whatever reason, when I moved and I got an apartment, I got away from just having consoles. So whenever I was playing a console, I was over at somebody else's place playing consoles. But I love the old school arcade games. So Retromania is something I'm very much looking forward to. I love the simplicity of stuff. I used to enjoy all of the creative player and the sim games. I get into them. But the thing is, I find myself spending so much time trying to create a wrestler, more time than I'm actually playing the game. Yeah, I want something that's a little pick up and go. And I think there's nothing that's more pick up and go than old arcade style, but rather I have to go somewhere to play the game. So maybe now Retromania I can actually bring it home and get that same 8-bit, 16-bit flavor. The Trivia Crusher awaits you, Robert. It awaits you.
Oh, is it time? Let's do it.
I believe it is time. So if you're watching at home, listening at home, you can play along. The Trivia Crusher is a super expensive, comprehensive mega computer that presses down 10 very hard to beat trivia questions. Now, we've removed the time limit on this. Robert was supposed to do this last week, but Robert claimed that there was a storm and the power went out and he couldn't do it.
You know what? Just that darn Floridian weather.
Seems a little convenient. Seems a little convenient.
As I understand, Dominic D'Angelo set the pace at 8. Well, I'm here to tell you that 8 is great, mate, but I'm about to beat it right out of the gate.
You did 7 out of 10. You have to do better than 7 out of 10. So you have to get an 8. You
have to get an 8.
All right. Are you ready for this?
I am.
Okay. All right. Here we go. Question number 1. Play along at home. Robert, I won't be putting the comments on the screen. You won't see them. All right, so you guys can play along at home, and if you're listening, go ahead and yell wherever you have your headphones on. What the
That's right, yell. We'll hear you.
I'll hear you in here. Question number 1. Are you ready? Question number 1. On this week's episode of NXT on USA Network, what item did Scarlett place inside the ring?
That was an hourglass.
That is correct. Number 2. Who had the shortest match on this week's episode of AEW Dynamite? 5.
Colt Cabana and Sammy Guevara?
That is correct. There you go. Oh, by just about a minute and 90 seconds. You're absolutely correct here. Who did Jordan Grace defeat to retain the Impact Knockouts title on this week's episode of Impact Wrestling?
Taya Valkyrie.
That is correct. You're 3 for 3 here, Robert. You're doing pretty well. Bobby Lashley will challenge the WWE champ for the WWE Championship this Sunday at Backlash. What was the last championship he held in the WWE? What was the last championship he held?
It would be the Intercontinental Championship.
You are 4 for 4, Robert. Oh, man. Bobby to Bobby right there. You were doing really, really well. All right. Right, look at that smile on your face. Look at that shitty grin on your face. Here we go. NXT In Your House was this past Sunday. When did what year? I have to scroll here. What year did the first NXT In Your House occur? What year? You recently covered this over on your other podcast.
What year did the first WWE In Your House occur, correct?
Yes, the first one.
1995.
1995. You are 5 for 5.
Yeah,
5 for 5, everyone. Yes. So what do people think about Robert right now? He's just 3 questions away from holding the record. Here we go. Tyson Fury, who has made his impact known in WWE, appearing at one of the recent Saudi Arabia events last year, has announced another big boxing bout. Who is his next opponent? He has several fights he is committed to, but who is his next opponent?
Well, that's it for me, folks. I do not cover the world of boxing, but I'll throw a guess out here and say he's not fighting Wilder again, is he?
It is Deontay Wilder. He will be fighting Deontay Wilder.
Get out of here! All right.
You fell into that. You just fell.
Yeah, all right.
You literally just fell down the stairs and came into the right answer. That's 6 for 6.
Go on.
Yeah. People are saying that the Trivia Crusher, Kevin is giving Robert all the cupcake questions. Dominic's were much harder. That's not true. I didn't create these questions. The Trivia Crusher did.
Yeah, well, the Trivia Crusher, I would appreciate if the Crusher stayed in the 1995 range, because
that's your favorite time.
I would know what I was talking about then.
All right, Chris Jericho, his podcast available now on WrestleZone, and he was on the podcast talking about many things, including his new band and the future of AEW. He suggested a watch list for us. We've been doing this great feature. A lot of fans have extra time in their hands. You want to go find those extra matches. He suggested several matches, including his most recent match in New Japan Pro Wrestling. Who was his opponent?
Hiroshi Tanahashi.
That is correct. You have now matched the record, Robert.
Good.
Can you defeat the record?
I'm not sure anymore.
All right, here we go. Drew McIntyre will defend the WWE Championship this Sunday at Backlash. What WWE Championship title has he not held in the promotion? What title has he not held?
Can I name any? Because there's a few.
There's a few.
So he hasn't been IC champ. No, he has. He was IC champ in 2010. But I know for a fact he hasn't been Universal champ and he hasn't been US champ.
That is correct, Robert. You now hold the Trivia Crusher record.
Hey, all right, yeah.
You have 2 more questions. Do you want to take them?
Yes, I do want to take them.
You didn't really have a choice in that matter.
Well, God.
More just a formality. New Japan Pro Wrestling has announced their triumphant return from a hiatus due to the pandemic, and they will return after being off for months now. It's noteworthy. It's months. Now, this is a question I think that the Trivia Crusher really would have got you on. How many events did they cancel during their hiatus? Now, if this is the question that got you and kept you from getting the record, that would have been a son of a bitch.
62.
Oh, wow. That's 10 over what the answer is. It's 53.
It's 53.
Okay. You want to get 9 out of 10? You want to shoot for 9 out of 10?
I'll try for 9 out of 10.
Okay, this one. Another number-oriented question. Undertaker will be featured again on another episode of The Last Ride. This is obviously a season of episodes. What episode number will this be on this Sunday?
4.
It is 4. You have 9 out of 10. Impressive, Robert.
All right.
I doubted you.
You should have led with that Tyson Fury question, I would have just left.
Fans of the show saying that Dominic is going to be pissed at you for getting a better score than him.
Oh, wow, that was hard.
Other people applauding you. So definitely sign in on that. We got some extra time here. If you're with us, you guys can shoot off your questions about anything going on in the world of wrestling. We have a few more minutes here. Do you want to get into that? Do want to thank everyone for listening to the show, watching the show, wherever you follow it. Thank you so much. There's so many choices you have in wrestling media and a lot of good ones. And maybe some bad ones, but it isn't really important who's bad and who's good. It's that you're here, you're with us, and we appreciate that. Especially now with a lot of stressful things going on. If we're the background noise in your life, we sincerely appreciate that. Robert, I know you have several things going on in the world of wrestling. You've won your plugs. Go ahead.
It's funny that you said if you're the background noise if we're the background noise in your life, we appreciate you. I've gotten a lot of those lately, like the stuff that I do at Smart Cut Moment and the stuff that I do here. Like, we are the background noise in people's lives, and that's an amazingly powerful feeling, to be part of a site that people frequent so much that we become part of their daily routine, and that's an honor. I think you and I can both agree on that.
Absolutely. We're full of it here.
I do Smart Out Moment. We're going to do a Backlash review on Sunday, Hot Tags on Friday, which is basically a weekly version of what we do here every day. And then up until about Tuesday, I will be working over at Fightful, helping out the team over there. I know that we just signed on one of Louis from Wrestle Talk. So kudos to just everybody's becoming one big happy family in wrestling media. You notice that?
Yeah.
Like
it's the tentacles are intertwined.
I know. We're all just becoming. We are the machine.
I think it is worth noting for people that follow wrestling podcasts and just wrestling websites in general. You'd be surprised how many of us know each other and how many of us get along and are nice with each other and pleasant with each other. I didn't get to attend it, but I know there was like a basketball game put together between wrestling media people and just people you see that produce like wrestling fan oriented content and stuff like that, which I thought was pretty neat. So yes, we do get along. We do buy each other beers and soda pops and all those fun things when we meet at different stuff. So I am thankful of that. Several people with some questions kind of coming in here, and I'm just scrolling up and picking up here. Bitman again wants to know this one. I like this question. Who do you think Edge or Orton will win this Sunday? We did talk about the match, but we didn't actually say who we thought would win. That's worth noting. And here's the thing. I didn't even think that was the point of us previewing the match. We were previewing would it live up to the hype, which is the main thing. I think Edge has to win the match, right? I think Edge has to win the match. But is it more interesting if Orton wins?
Okay, I feel like we're going to get Orton winning here through means of chicanery just to drag it out to one more match at Extreme Rules. And I think that'll be a TLC because it's Edge. And he can...
That's a long ways away, though. It's
about a month.
Is TLC in a month?
No, I said the event will be Extreme Rules. I just think the match will be...
They're going to get to Extreme Rules. So when she said TLC, I was like, that's supposed to be in December, isn't it?
Yeah. But I do think that Edge either challenges for the championship at SummerSlam or faces Seth Rollins at SummerSlam.
That's a testy question. You want to hear a really controversial question?
I do.
Now, it's worth noting, we get questions.
Oh, I like this one.
And we get questions, and this is one that is certainly interesting. And certainly plays into what's going on in the world right now. Scott George, very faithful viewer for the show, texts in. He says, do you guys think Mr. McMahon, the character Mr. McMahon, or just Mr. McMahon, or WWE in general, is going to take advantage of Black Lives Matter, a very popular movement? We've seen it. It's all over the news. It's very hard. If you don't know about that, you haven't watched the news in weeks.
Yeah, I don't know where you are right now.
Yeah. And he says, do you think you would take advantage of the Black Lives Matter movement and put the WWE title on Lashley? I think if Lashley was to win the title this Sunday, there would be a lot of people that would say the reason that is happening because of this movement. And then at the same time, it isn't like I don't think that is a reason why it's happening. because I think you'd actually have to hear that from someone's mouth when they say like, yeah, we did this because of this, you know. I have to go through one of those Bruce Pressure things. Were you there? I was there, man. You know, like that type of element. But the only reason there is something that I don't know about it. It doesn't bother me if that's a reason why they would want to put the title on Lashley. But does that do a favor for Lashley? Does it show that that's the right thing to do? Does it do a favor by WWE to do that then either? So I don't know. I don't know. It's something where I'm just like, it's not like I wasn't computing that. I was thinking this is a wrestling match that's been built up for a wrestling title, and now, well, here's this whole other thing, because there's so many outside factors now that influence wrestling. There's a pandemic, we can't have fans, so here's how much a match can be interesting. There's this very big social movement that's going on, and here's how it reflects certain individuals that we see in society, and now we have to view everything with a different take and be more compassionate and empathetic. Does that mean then that it parlays its way into art? WWE has reflected what is going on in culture quite often, and some people get mad at them for doing it, and then some people get mad at them for not doing it. Is this a situation where if they don't do it, the fans get mad at them for it?
A section of fans, yes. I like the question a lot. I don't think it's in WWE's nature to take advantage of the Black Lives Matter movement. I do think they might be heavily influenced, but to say that, oh, well, we're just going to take advantage of this and put the title on Lashley, I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know either.
It depends. Like, Lashley is paired with MVP. If they want to go that way, they can. Yeah. And you've got two great guys to do it. MVP once said the N-word on Impact Television, and it was it moved the needle for Impact at a time where they needed it. You know, like, MVP is a guy who feels these issues to his core. He proudly reps the Black Panther gear every time he's been in the ring. But do you want to parlay that into this relationship with Lashley? I don't know. I don't know if they're that invested. And also, once you go there, you have to then get yourself out of it at some point. And then how do you handle that situation?
But I don't think it's anything that's been alluded to storyline-wise, too.
Right.
So that makes me think that it isn't something that's going to be present on the show.
Like, the issue is Lashley hasn't been champion because Lashley is holding Lashley back. It isn't, Lashley isn't champion because he's black.
And they've never, that isn't something they've alluded to. They've always said that, like, oh, you have the power to win all these matches, but your mistakes and your decisions and the people that are around you, him being with Lana being a distraction, all these different things, those have held you back. So there is some momentum for Lashley going into this match. I mean, he took that Claymore on Sunday and walked right out of the ring like it was no big deal, right? So there is something there. I just don't see any illusion of this outside element like we've seen with other things influencing this decision. I don't see it. I feel confident that Drew McIntyre gets out of Sunday with the belt, but I feel there'll be some chicanery outside of the ring. Chicanery. Second time we've used the word chicanery.
Yeah, chicanery is the word today.
All right, we will return on Monday night after Raw. We will, I believe, have a Backlash post show, so keep an eye out for that on Sunday night as well. And keep your podcast feeds rocking and rolling, if you will. Go and subscribe. We're available on Spotify now, along with iTunes, iHeart, TuneIn, and more. You can also watch the show on Facebook Watch and YouTube. Thank you for supporting the show. Give it a like. That's all you do is press that like button. All right, you see it right over there. It's right there on the bottom of the screen. Hit it. It's not that hard. Maybe you don't want to share this on your page. People don't like when I share stuff. Well, you can send it to somebody too, or tag them in the comments below. Thank you guys so much for supporting the show. I'm Kevin Kelm. For everything pro wrestling, there's one source. It's WrestleZone.com. But when you're also watching this wrestling, you need to do something very, very important. We're talking about all these big issues. We're talking about whether or not the match is going to be the greatest. They're telling us it's going to be the greatest. Before I even turn it on, I have to clear my mind and do what, Robert?
Enjoy wrestling.